Hi, everybody. It's Wendy. We are back here in the sanctuary, and we are on the Goddess Awakening and Healing Sanctuary Facebook page. We are in DC, in the DC radio studios, and we will be sharing our information on our Facebook pages. So give us a chance to get everything settled. Jessica is behind the boards again today, and she's going to be hooking us up. So let me just share this, and then we'll get started. We have a great show today, and I'm excited to have my friend, Dr. Jeri Dyson, in the house. So, okay, hold on. I am sharing to my page. Hold on. And then please like, share, please ask any questions you have, and engage in the conversation, because it's going to be a great conversation. Okay. All right, Dr. J, move in a little bit so we can see you. Okay.
How's that?
That is great. Okay, hold on one second, Jessica. Let me get the script up, because I say it every week and then I forget what I'm supposed to say. So let me, don't front like I have it in my brain. Okay, I'm ready whenever you are. Welcome to the Sanctuary. You're listening to DC Radio 96.3 HD4 and DC Radio. Yeah, forgot to put my headphones on. All right, take two. Okay. Welcome to the Sanctuary. You're listening to DC Radio 96.3 HD4 and DCRadio.gov. I'm Wendy Cherry, your host, and we're talking about another one of my favorite topics, which is travel and how to find out who you are, kind of like when you're evolving, who you are as different things come your way, and how you can survive them is the least of the term. So I have my friend, Dr. Jeri Dyson, in the house today. And Dr. J, I call her Dr. J. Dr. J is an adolescent medicine physician, author, and lecturer specializing in teen wellness. She is the founding president of Global Girls, Global Women, Inc., and devotes her full time to global programs for girls and young women. And she is one of today's foremost thinkers of global teen health. And it's perfect for me because I got a teen.
Yes.
The Sid.
A wonderful teen.
Yes. So welcome to the Sanctuary, Dr. J.
Thank you for welcoming me into your sanctuary.
Yes. So what we want to talk about today is international travel and the importance of international travel for little babies that look like us.
Yes.
And if any of you have ever traveled internationally, and depending on where you go, you will see people of all nationalities there, and it'll be one or two of us.
Yes.
Right? So I have been traveling probably for the last 25 years internationally, and on my most recent trips to Africa a few times, and then to Southeast Asia, I was kind of like an anomaly. And I got a lot of stares. I got these locks. I'm walking down the street, and I was really aware of it, right? But what I was interested in was learning something new. And that's why I started international travel. I started international travel in the early 90s. And so I wanted to learn something new, but what I knew that coming from a Jersey girl was that I had culture shock.
Yes.
I had culture shock. And the biggest culture shock was working and living on a cruise ship. It was a Caribbean cruise ship. And there were people of all different countries, nationalities. There were 300 workers. I was one of 300 workers, but I was one of only 2 African Americans out of everybody. So it was a shock. It was a good education. It was a exposure on a level that I had never imagined. And it was also kind of made me sad. It made me sad because I'm like, my friends aren't doing this. None of my family members really are doing it on this level. And I felt like they were kind of missing out.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, some of them don't even have the desire. They like, that's you. You know, I see you when I see you. And this was before this was before social media. This is before I had access to the internet. So it was faxes to keep in touch with my family or my mom, you know. So I want to talk about how, one, when I read your bio, you got a lot going on. Author, lecturer, physician, a teen physician. How did you parlay your being a physician into travel? Because I'm feeling like you're a doctor. You should be seeing patients. What does that have to do with being an international traveler?
And that's a great question, Wendy, because what happens is a lot of times in our careers, we are pigeonholed into you're only a doctor. So all you do is go to an office, you see patients for a certain amount of hours, and then you go to the hospital to check up on them. But actually, medicine is what exposed me to international travel.
Okay.
If you think about it, most of the medical doctors who do any type of medicine, sometimes we can get inundated with paperwork and things. So we end up going on international trips to do medical missions.
Okay.
And so that is what initially exposed me to international travel, global travel, taking care of patients from different backgrounds. And it expands you as a human being as well.
It does.
It makes you more empathetic. And I know that's a buzzword that people use a lot, but it does. It helps you to see yourself in other people. It helps you to really understand what the needs are and the culture of a person when you're providing medicine. Right. You're less likely to use assumption when you are traveling internationally. So medicine is what exposed me to global travel. Okay. And when I was in residency, 6 other young ladies, African-American young ladies, we wrote a grant to travel to Senegal to do research on developmental evaluations for kids. Okay. And when I was there, my roommate in residency was from Congo. She would say Zaire, depending on who was in control at the time. But she's actually from the Republic of Congo. Okay. And so she just kept saying, keep an open mind when you travel, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. So I was like, what does that mean? Like, tell me what to expect. She was like, just keep an open mind. Right. And so that's what I usually encourage people, because like you, when you said you went, and there was culture shock, I was like, what in the world? Where are we? What are we doing? And so you may not have had like running sanitation, water. It was different things where, you know, just common habits that we have, like brushing our teeth and then rinsing our mouths out,
spitting it out,
and spitting out, and rinsing the toothbrush under the water will get you diarrhea. You'll be, you know, for days with diarrhea or vomiting. And so I had to make it a habit of even taking the water bottle and brushing my teeth outside, so that would never be an issue. They were like, why is this girl outside brushing her teeth? Because I didn't want to make the mistake.
Yeah, like muscle memory
stuff. Yeah, that is
under the water.
We do a lot of memory. And so when I experienced that, I said, there has got to be a way for me to incorporate this in my lifestyle, because what it did was it expanded my mind. It wasn't just the medical career, but it expanded me as a human being. And so that is what really got me into international travel. And I said, if I'm doing this in my late 20s, gosh, how different would I be if I started doing this as a teenager? Right. And so that is the inception of what got me to saying, we got to bring younger women on trips like this, and younger men too, because we can't have women developing and men don't develop too. So
it has to be some balance. So I love that you said the keep an open mind part, because a lot of us here, you know, I'm thinking of African-American women specifically, because I've traveled with all types of people. Right. But I know the sisters got a certain level that they want. Right. And so if they're not at like a 4 or 5 star hotel, especially as you're older, you know, maybe the millennials, y'all can kind of like rough it. But I know some of the women that I hang with, they're not trying to go any other way, right? They're worrying about those accommodations, but just keeping an open mind and being able to go with the flow and just experience what the world has to offer is so key. And so a few summers ago, I decided to just go to Southeast Asia by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went backpacking. I did not have an agenda. I just said, I want to go to Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll see where it takes me. So I had 2 weeks on my own to just figure it out. Mm-hmm. So I went with no agenda because I am what I used to be, like very controlled, mm-hmm. very, what's the production schedule? Because I'm a production manager. Mm-hmm. That's what I do. And so it's in me to be like, we have to be at this tour at this time. I got to go see this at this time. What we're going to eat this day. So I went by myself, so I didn't have to deal with any of those things. I wasn't on anybody's agenda but my own. And it was so freeing. So the first day, we got stuck in China.
Mm-hmm.
Now look, stuck, air quotes stuck. Those people were having a fit. Like my fellow mates on the plane, they were having a fit. And I was just taking it all in.
Right.
When do you get a free hotel at a hotel room, a free night with breakfast and everything in China on the full moon?
Exactly.
So I got off the plane, I go and I'm looking around and I'm like, yo, I wasn't even supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be letting it flow. And it was just, I was able to take it in with an open mind and just let the things happen. And I saw so many beautiful things. And then by the time I looked, I was taking a sea salt bath.
Yes.
In this beautiful hotel room by myself, chilling.
Mm-hmm.
And so I blogged about that because I was like, I know had I been with other people, they would have been stressing me out. Because they'd have been, we got to get here, we got to go there, what's it going to be and whatever.
And the other thing about it is you can experience, because I have friends who always joke, I'm a 5-star missionary. You do have people who are like, oh, I'm a missionary, but I'm a 5-star missionary.
Okay.
And I'm okay with
also
that. I'm okay with that. If you are a 5-star person, my desire is just simply for you to go.
See. Right.
Don't use that as an excuse because I need certain accommodations, because everywhere you go, they'll be able to accommodate you depending on how much money you have.
Yeah.
So if you want to spend the money and do that, fine. I want you to experience it on whatever level you want to experience it. But there is a time, like you said, there is a challenge where your rigid scheduling of it has to be like this, it's got to move like this, that's going to be out the window.
Yeah.
And that's the advantage of traveling, because the more you travel, the more that part of you is tested.
It is.
It comes with even transfers. Like you may fly into one country, you'll be there for 4 hours and have to fly out. Something to happen with your luggage, something to happen with the transport, something to happen with the plane. So you just have to be, like we said, keep an open mind and not be rigid. So I venture to say that anybody who is, because I would consider myself a very structured. I wouldn't say controlling. That used to be my nature.
Right.
But it's more structured. Like it has to be like this. The people who follow under that path, even if you're like that, still don't let that be a reason to not travel.
Yeah.
Because that part of you is going to be tested, and that part of you is going to be, so if you do have those friends who are like, oh God, we got to do this. And it's certain things that you can't control. I don't care how much you raise your voice. I don't care who you curse out. I don't care who. You can say, oh, the embassy sent me, the U.S. embassy sent me. I have an important meeting.
Right.
If we're not flying the plane, we're not flying the plane.
Right.
That's
control
just how
what you can control.
You can control what you can control. And that was my lesson when I went to Senegal. Like we went from Senegal to Gambia we were doing all of these treks. And I was like, we're supposed to be in Dakar. That is it. We ended up in Kaolack. We ended up in Gambia. And so there were certain times where they were like, we have to run to make this boat. And I was like, run? They were like, no, we have to run because prayer starts in 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. If we miss this boat, the next boat comes after prayer. That's not going to be for 3 hours. So you just get used to it.
You get used to it. And I think that what I loved the most was that you meet so many people.
Yes.
So this is another thing that we're talking about here, and the importance of taking little brown and black babies internationally, because when I was away, all them other babies is out there playing.
Yes.
I'm in Bali, chilling at the beach. And there's these little just babies. They just walking along.
Alone.
Have no clue on how blessed they are because it's a part of what they do. It's just what they do. Just what they do. It wasn't necessarily special. They were just on holiday.
Yes.
Just on holiday. And so I saw it in China. I went to Malaysia too. Then Bali is in Indonesia. I saw it everywhere. And then I'm in, Bangkok, and then I'm in Chiang Mai in Thailand. Little babies of all different ethnicities walking around. And so what I loved was that I was able to connect and allow myself to connect with other people.
Right.
So I go to Bali. And there's certain sharing apps that you can use to make your life pretty easy. And I use some of those apps. And so I found myself at a women's retreat center across the hall from two little girls, young women named Sabrina. One was Colombian and one was from Sweden or something. And we connected. And I was like, I got a blessing of two Sabrinas.
Right.
And we hung out the whole time. And so now we still follow each other on social media. And the Sabrina from Sweden just is in India right now because I'm watching her on Instagram. And she said the most beautiful thing. She's in India. And it was not maybe what she expected. And somebody asked her, what was it? And she said, don't worry about what I think. It's yours to explore.
Right, exactly.
I loved that because I'm thinking she didn't try to put any hindrances on it. She didn't try to hate on it or say anything extra beautiful. She said, it's yours. You go with your own mind. You go with your own intention to explore, or you can go and waste your money and not.
Yeah. And the funny part about all of this is that as much as we think the world is so big and the globe, the earth, it's really small because every country we go to, and it's so weird, every nation that I'm in, I always meet somebody who's from back home.
Right.
Not back home like the States, but back home, the city. They might have gone to your high school. It's weird, crazy stuff out there. And so the more you travel, the more you realize how small the world is and how each of us, we own the world. It's not like somebody else's world and we're visiting. This is our world.
Yes.
And so that's what I try to impart in the young ladies that I'm working with, not to feel like you're on a holiday pass at somebody else's house.
Right.
Because when you're in somebody else's house, you govern yourself differently. You may ask permission to go into the refrigerator. You may ask permission to use the restroom. Whereas if it's your house, you're relaxed. You know where the refrigerator is. Even if it's a new house, you explore. And so I want the young ladies and the people who are surrounded with me to know this is our world to explore.
It is our world to explore. So I have three things. Let's go all the way to the beginning and let's talk about global girls and global women and what that is.
Okay.
And then I want to piggyback on you saying that the world is ours because it's very important. And there is something that I wanted to have a pin there. So let's talk about how you came up with the concept of global girls, global women, and what the mission and vision is.
Okay. So Global Girls, Global Women is a nonprofit organization that I started in 2016. And what it does is we recruit women 16 to 21 from DC, Maryland, and Virginia who are less likely to travel internationally. What we do is we take them in, we interview them, we accept them, and then we train them on what it is and what it means to be a global citizen, to have a global mindset as it relates to women. All things girls, all things women. And the reason we do this is because women, by and large, are disenfranchised, not just in the States, but internationally. So we talk to them about being child brides. We talk to them about female genital mutilation. We talk to them about sex trafficking. We talk to them about disenfranchisement when it comes to education. So we use that year-long training. And then after we train them on a different things as it relates to women and global issues, we take them on international treks.
Okay.
Because you can learn stuff from a book, but
Right.
if you're not experiencing it, we learn through experiences and exposure.
Yeah.
And so the more that you immerse yourself in a culture, the more you're in a place where you can't really read the signs, like, where is baggage claim? Okay, well, let me just follow behind everybody else because I can't read any of these signs.
Right.
It expands you on a different level. And so I started Global Girls, Global Women in 2016 after traveling internationally. I was a speaker. My life transitioned from medicine to, I did a lot of speaking nationally. And then a friend of mine submitted my name to be a speaker for a U.S. speaker for the State Department.
Okay.
So with me being a speaker for the State Department, any program that the State Department had overseas where they needed women to go in and talk to other young women, whether it's about diet, exercise, finding their voice, understanding what it is to be a woman in their culture, they would send me. And with me traveling, I would engage with a lot of young people in high schools and colleges, women at women's shelters. And so I realized, as much as we are very different in every culture and our expression is different, the problems are absolutely the same. Domestic violence, financial gain, you're having maybe babies that the system could help you a little bit more in terms of nurturing and raising. So our issues globally pretty much are the same, plus or minus a few different things that are sensitive or specific to each culture.
Right.
So with that, I said, my goodness, the young ladies were so engaged with what I was doing. Me being an African American was amazing because most of the women that they saw who were American were white women who were coming over. So when they see a Black girl, they're like, wait, are you a singer, an actor?
Right.
You're a medical
doctor.
Right, because most of what other countries get about us is programmed through what they're fed on media and television.
Yep.
So when they see a woman who is an African-American woman, who is a doctor, who is talking, and she's funny, is she a comedian? Like, what is this lady doing? She's making us laugh, we're paying attention. And so I said, the best thing for me to do is to bring other young ladies over with me to engage with these young ladies. So like you said, when you met your two Sabrinas, they can go overseas and meet friends that they can maintain a connection with. And then as they grow as adult women, they have friends that they can travel with. Oh, okay. Well, we met in Brussels. That was our first engagement. Right. So I'm going to India. You want to meet me in India?
Right.
And then you have somebody that you know, that you trust, that you can travel with and meet. And so that's the whole purpose of Global Girls, Global Women. Because as the world is evolving and becoming more global, if you are not preparing young people to be global citizens, they are going to be left behind. Right. And that is the main reason why I said, I need to start training young people so that they see the world as a global perspective and not just, oh, I'm from Texas, I'm from New York, because that's not going to last.
That's not going to last. And it's interesting. When I first moved to DC 20 plus years ago, I used to work with a group of students in Southeast. And I was going to take them to some museums in just at the Smithsonian's, and they had never been. And they were teenagers. And I was just so floored because I didn't know that experience.
Adults in DC who have not been.
So it's just the basics of exposure. So one or two other things. I love the fact that you said that, you know, we own the world. It's really our birthright. And so society has put these boundaries, all this talk about, you know, passports and boundaries and lines of division and walls and all this crap. That's not how God really created it. And so all my soapbox, because I can for a second, that's not really how it is. It's not really how it should be. So try, if you can, moms and dads, get your baby their passport. Make sure that they have it, because you're going to have to go. You're going to need the passport for majority of the places because it's their birthright to travel the world. They can do more than just go down south and see their parent, you know, their family. It can be more than just going up north to see their family. You made a point earlier about just like one of the first steps can be traveling domestically, traveling the United States. That could be the first way to see how your family moves together, how y'all eat together and stay in hotels and, you know, those kinds of things. And but just knowing that from some of there were not that many statistics. So, I always try to give facts. There weren't really that many statistics on African Americans traveling before, like, maybe the last 6 or 7 years, because of the millennials who have now taken the world by storm. And then we have social media, which allows us to see them out and about. But for the past, traveling while Black could have been dangerous.
Yes.
Traveling while Black, going down south, going up north. There's a myth that just going down south could get you hemmed up if you were in the wrong place. That's it's true that you could have been, in a really tricky situation as a Black person. You couldn't just roll up to the IHOP and jump out and run to the restroom right quick like we can now. There were different rules that we had. We even had a situation where someone created like a little directory for us. It's called the Green Book. And people would be able to go and stay in bed and breakfast and stay and go to restaurants that were all supporting Black people traveling within the United States. So now there's a little bit less of that stigma. So it's like Sabrina says, it's yours to explore. And so if you haven't felt the bug yet, that bug or that draw to go international, start at home.
Right.
Because even charity begins at home. Start in your own backyard. If you're here in the DC area and you haven't been to any of these museums, that's a good place to start, because that's where the exposure starts, and that's where the you can whet the palate of yourself and your children to realize there's more than just the craziness that we're seeing on TV day in and day out.
And what's funny about traveling nationally, I was looking up something as you were talking. What's funny about traveling nationally is that I left home at 18. So I'm DC, born and bred in DC. And I went away to undergrad in New Orleans.
Okay.
And so the culture from one part of the United States is very different. We're not homogenous. We like to think, oh, I'm from the States. Oh, everything is the same. And that's how people outside of the U.S. think about us.
Yeah.
But when you're here, you understand that there are parts of California that are very different from parts of Texas, that is very different from Louisiana, that's very different from New York. And so it's important to travel as much as you possibly can. And I think that's what happened with me. I started traveling and I just didn't stop. So from 18, it took me 20 years to get back home. And my profession took me different places in terms of traveling. But to go back to what you were saying about a passport and people not wanting to get a passport, I was looking this up because one of my friends at the State Department is saying there is a mandate that is coming out that by a certain time, and I wanted to look it up.
2020.
Is it 2020? Everybody is going to be required to have a passport. So my thing is, you might as well get the passport now, because I'm not really clear about how people will say, oh yeah, well, I'm a global citizen and I travel all over the place. And you're like, oh, so what about your passport? And it used to be real funny because one of the ministries that I was a part of, like maybe 5 or 10 years ago, it used to be a bragging right.
Okay.
Because everybody traveled globally.
Yeah.
And even the young people travel globally. So people will pull their passports out and compare, like, how many stamps you got? How many stamps you got?
Right.
Well, I need a new book. I have to apply it. So that kind of stuff is positive peer pressure. Now, we may have been operating in some pride, like, okay, I got more passport stamps than you.
Right.
But what it does is it challenges you to go outside of your box, to experience outside of your box. And so for those 5-star people who gotta have 5-star, that the world is ready to accommodate you.
Yes.
For the people who are backpackers and they're like, nah, I want to rough it.
Yeah.
The world is ready to accommodate you.
Yeah.
For the people who only want adult-only environments, the world is ready to accommodate. So really, there's no excuse for you not to travel. So for people who are like, well, I don't have the money, because that's usually the number one thing that I hear people say. There are so many programs and so many things that if you plan in advance, like my friend in California, he's like a big brother, David. He and his family, it's he, his wife, and his 2 children. They travel internationally all year round. He's like, my mom knows how to really find good deals on airlines, and we go to Airbnb. And I promise you, it looks like we're balling, but we're not. we were able to find 4 round trip tickets for $800.
Right. You can do it.
You have to be, it's like you find sales for anything else.
Right.
You have to really be diligent. You have to be prepared to, accommodate and change your schedule.
It just can't be you're going to leave on Thursday at 10 a.m.
You
might have to leave Wednesday night.
Exactly.
So the thing is also when you're away, so say you're in Europe, or I say Africa, or in some of them other Caribbean countries, when you're there, you can fly to the next spot cheaper.
You sure can.
So it's not everything just coming from the U.S. When I was in Thailand, I'd never intended to go to Bali. One of my friends saw I was in Thailand and was like, in Instagram, mind you, you there, you might as well go to Bali. I was like, oh, let me get on this freaking flyer hopper thing, and boom, I was in Bali in 3 days. So it's very important. But I y'all who do watch my show and know anything about me know I like to be real woo-woo. So I talk about reality and then I talk about the woo-woo. So here I'm doing this woo-woo thing. Healthy People 2020. If you're not vaccinated and if you don't have certain things that the government wants you to have, you will not be allowed to get your passport. So it's already Monday's April 2019. You got a minute to get yourself together. If you've never heard of this before, look it up. It's Healthy People 2020. They're already starting to put their little feelers out at your job. They're trying to make you get that flu shot, if you want it or not. They're trying to get your children them HPV shots, whether you want them or not. And so what they're going to start to do, so if you're listening, what's happening in New York now in Rockland County is that students or people, 150 outbreak of measles. And so if you are not vaccinated, they're not going to let you go to the movies, go to the store, go to church, go anywhere. And so you have to be really careful about it. But if you can't get that passport, you really can't go to many places. So just wanted to be on your Healthy People 2020 ain't necessarily all what it's being presented in the media to the layperson. So you always got to think behind. So we're not going to focus on that. Get your passport.
Exactly.
Get your passport. So Dr. J, talk to us about, it's sort of like bragging rights to go to different places. People like to say, I've been here, I've been there. So tell us about your situation in Jacksonville, Florida.
The funniest thing happened to me. I was stopping to get coffee, and it was not that many people in the coffee shop. It was the barista who was making the coffee. It was a couple, and it was myself. So I got my drink, and I was going to, add whatever I needed to add to it. And this couple was talking to each other so loudly. And it really was a stunt. They were really trying to brag, humble brag, as they, as they say. I hate that humble brag. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, we have to go to Paris and such and such and such. So the girl is talking about how she's never been to Paris and it's going to be good. And I don't really know what to do and where we're staying. Oh, I think we're staying in a traditional European type barista hotel, and they're talking so loud. I'm like, it's only 3 of us in here. This is clearly for my benefit. So I will know that they're traveling. So, I mean, I can be a little messy at times. I'm not often messy. I usually that has nothing to do with me. Mind your business, keep it moving. But for some reason, because they were subliminally in having this conversation for me, I stirred my coffee slowly as I'm putting my top on it. And I was like, what is the best time to interject? So they stopped talking. And I said, well, honestly, when I went to Paris, it was very cold. And you should have seen their faces like, what? I was like, when I went to Paris, it was very cold. It was April, as a matter of fact. I said, so please be certain to take layers and be prepared for it to be cold. It's not necessarily going to be that, but you got to go to this and you have to do this and make sure you go all the way to the top of the Eiffel Tower. Do not stop on the 2nd floor and just take pictures and think you're done. Go all the way up. And you can actually schedule to have lunch there. That'll be good. You want something romantic to do. So by this time, their faces are on the ground like, this chick said, what? And I was like, yeah, have a nice day. And put my top on my coffee and rolled out. And I got in my car and laughed so hard. I don't think they were really expecting that. Because that's what happens with when our African American kids are in a setting, because it doesn't only happen to adults, it happens to the kids.
Yeah.
Because if the teenagers are traveling and doing a whole bunch of stuff, they're coming back bragging to our kids, thinking that our kids can't participate in the conversation. Right. So when our kid is able to participate in the conversation, it puts us like, oh, we're on the same playing field. Mm-hmm. Don't try to make it seem like you're more advantaged than me. Mm-hmm. I've actually been 4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm. These are some off skirts you might want to do. And make sure you go to Versailles. That was the other thing I told them. I said, I got sick, so I wasn't able to go to Versailles, but make sure you go to Versailles. Because last time my dad was like, when you go to Versailles. Make sure you go and take pictures. So they were just, it's just funny to see how people perceive you when you are a global traveler. They put you on a different, they take you for a different place. They do.
Yeah. And what I'd like to also have you consider, listeners and viewers, is that when you're making your trips, this is just me. This is just a suggestion, a consideration, is that when you're going and deciding to go, it's really cool to go to places that people look like you, because for me, and I've been to Paris and I've been to Europe, is that they got all of our stuff in their museums.
Right.
Because they stole it from us.
Right.
All the stuff from the pyramids, right? From the pyramids and from the South American and all these other brown and black indigenous cultures, those European nations have stolen our artifacts and our papers and our books, and they have them in theirs and they have them on display. And on the real, some of these other countries have asked different European countries to give them their stuff back, and they have said no.
Right.
So for me, just for me right now, I am more interested in visiting some of the places where I can explore more African cultures, because you wouldn't think you can go to Peru and connect with the African culture. You wouldn't think that you could go to, so I went to Kemet, Egypt, the land of the blacks, before. You only see sort of like an Arab perspective, but we went to Nubia. Those are the original people. Those are the chocolatier people who cannot be police officers, who cannot be nurses or doctors. They just got electricity not too long ago. But those are the original people of that place. And that's what I want to explore. And that's what I think could also connect you. You can go wherever you want. But when I see everybody rushing to get to Europe, I always think y'all just looking at your own stuff. It's just in a stolen place. Another thing is, when I went to Cuba, to Havana, we took this tour. We might have been there, if we were there for 9 days, by day 5 or 6, we had seen what we were going to see. And then we got a tour from a doctor, this professor, who showed us being Black in Cuba. We walked down the same daggone streets, and we did not notice a whole Black culture that is suppressed every day right in front of us.
Well, that's the advantage of traveling and connecting with people who are in that nation who look like you. So everywhere you go, you can find the Black diaspora, the African diaspora. You can go to Thailand and find Black diaspora. You can go to Vietnam and find Black diaspora. You can even go to Europe. I have a girlfriend who is that same girlfriend from Congo who now lives in Brussels. And they're like, there is a Black African experience that you can have when you're here. So you can find the African diaspora wherever you go. Even when I went to Fiji, it was so funny. The first time I went to Fiji, everybody was like, in my inbox on Facebook, well, what do the people look like? Oh my God. I'm like, they look like you and I.
Brown.
And the thing about it is, when I was there and they saw me, I think they did this on purpose. I had a big gap in my schedule. The itinerary is usually really rigid, really strong, especially if it's coming from the State Department. They had this huge gap. And so the people who were hosting us was like, make sure you take her to the museum and just drop her off there. Okay. And so I went, and it was like I was the only person in the museum. Like, I was able to explore the entire thing. And it was so enriching, because if you read the stories, like, I'm not the kind of person who's just going to look at artifacts and stuff. I'm going to take my time and I'm going to read.
Right.
And so as I was reading, I was like, God, these people are just like me, or I am just like them. And so it was a wonderful experience. And it talked about how the missionaries from different countries came over, and that changed the culture. Anywhere you go, when missionaries came in, they changed the culture to benefit them.
Right.
And so a lot of things were lost, and a lot of things that are indigenous to that area were demonized.
Right.
And so the cultures don't perpetuate that because it was demonized. Oh, this is a bad thing. So that's how those our cultural things are suppressed.
So, and it's happening now all around the world. So I wrote a piece years ago about the gentrification of Kemet, the gentrification of Egypt. You go in there, they done smash the noses off people, trying to scrape paint off of stuff, breaking up stuff. It's happening right on U Street. So what they say is it was bad, it was hood, it was a lot of police activity, a lot of bad things going on. And then now they've put the Starbucks and the dog yoga spot up. And then you totally see that they took down the, there was Duke Ellington? I don't know whose picture that was. I forget whose picture it was now, but there was a prominent jazz person who was right on U Street. That picture is gone. It was a beautiful mural that was there for many years. And I have only been here for 20 plus years. I always remember that mural, that joint gone. So it's happening around you. So it's not even that, it happens you don't have to go. You can just look right in any major city where there were brown and black people. It's changing. So they take those things away. So Dr. J, you have the Global Girls, Global Women. What is it like a membership organization? How do little girls get in? Who do you look for? And what are you doing with them moving forward?
Well, it is not membership. It is basically anyone who is interested. You can be 16 to 21.
Okay.
This year we decided to take younger girls, and I decided to take younger girls based on a lot of the disenfranchisement that was happening to younger girls, especially with the sexploitation that's been happening in media. Those victims, as you would say, were younger. So I opened it up to younger women.
Okay.
But we predominantly take women 16 to 21 from DC, Maryland, Virginia. They have to be either part-time or full-time. They don't necessarily have to be part-time, full-time students. They don't necessarily have to be in a traditional academic setting. They could be in a trade, in any type of schooling, but they have to be part-time or full-time and come with 2 letters of recommendation. You can go to our website, Global Girls, Global Women. It's just those names, Global Girls, Global Women.org. We're organization, so .org, Global Girls, Global Women.org, and find out more about becoming a member. Not really through membership, but we have to make sure that young ladies are interested, because what I've noticed is that the parents understand the value of this program, but a lot of the girls don't.
Right.
So if the girls aren't interested, we don't necessarily want you in our group if you're not interested. We don't want you to feel like we're beating you over the head. We want everything that we do in terms of our learning to be fun. It's definitely going to be challenging. It's going to be a broadening of your mindset, but I want the girls to have fun because we learn through pleasure, pain, or by proxy.
Yeah.
So I don't want them to learn by pain, because a lot of stuff we learn by pain. This is not an exercise that I want you to learn by proxy. By proxy is through somebody else's experience.
Right.
I want you to learn through pleasure. So I want everything that we do to be fun. I want it to be where your mind is expanded, where you come out, you go into the program a girl, but you come out a global woman.
Wow.
And that's why I said Global Girls, Global Women. And we're open for enrollment for our 2020 class because our 2019 class is full.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be something where the 2019s then become mentors for the girls who are coming behind them. So it's really about them experiencing and then passing it back. I want to get them in the habit of reaching behind yourself to pull up another young lady or to educate another young lady through your experience. So that's what it's all about. But globalgirlsglobalwomen.org, you can find out more about it and send in applications. We are accepting 2020 applications now, but the 2019 class is closed.
So I have it up on the screen, but I have comms. So make sure you look up globalgirlsglobalwomen.org to get your daughter, check it out and see, if it's something that you're interested in. Now, for me, I'm going to go back to my little woo-woo. 7 or 8 years ago, I'm just standing in the kitchen talking to one of my friends, and I said, I want my daughter to be a world citizen. I want her to travel the world and to meet people and to learn things. And I just said it. And then after I said it, I almost closed my own mouth, because I really am somewhere in my brain and said, how are you going to do that? Because you don't have all that kind of money. That's what I was thinking, right? And as the years have passed, it has become easier. So I even was able to get her on her first international trip to study agriculture and to study, in Costa Rica, on the Afro-Caribbean side of Costa Rica, so that she could see and experience and taste foods and have a little goat chase her around and see chocolate farms and all these different things. And then my big sister, like she always does, Dr. Vicki Johnson, she planted another little seed, and she introduced me to Dr. J.
She sure did.
And she said, you two should connect. And we connected. And so now my daughter she had to go through her own, she had to do her application. Right. She had to go through her own interview process. She was nervous, but she was accepted. Yeah. And so now she will be a part of the 2019 group who is going to be able to travel. But I'm saying, if you say what it is you want and you're clear and you put it out there, and it wasn't even really for me to try to figure out. Right. It just comes. And so now, and she wants to do it. She's excited about it. And she's actually going on her first little HBCU tour in 2 weeks. And she's hyped. Yes. I think she's kind of hyped about what boys is going to be on the tour with her. But she is excited to go to Spelman, which I've always talked about. She's excited to get the exposure to go to see the MLK Center and all these different things. And I'm not going to be there. Yes. And so it was just a dream that I have for her. And so I'm grateful that you had a vision where my little baby can get plugged into there just like other little babies can. So mommies and daddies, if you're listening, 2020 is coming. Fill out the application and work with your student and start to do the exposure and start to talk about things that maybe put up a map in the house and talk about places that you would like to go. My daughter and I, like 2 years ago, I had her write down the top 7 places she wanted to see in the world. And we ain't been to none of them yet, but that doesn't mean anything. Yes, she eventually will get to go on her own. And so that's just something to consider. So let's talk about, you were a medical doctor. You are a medical doctor. That's what your training is. So you will always be that. But let's talk about you create this new situation, this new experience for people. And then you have your own experiences that you have to grow and evolve past. So do you mind sharing a little bit about that? Okay.
So I started Global Girls, Global Women in 2016, like we said. I launched it in 2017, in that October of 2017. The following year, I was diagnosed with bone marrow cancer. So I'm like, what are we doing? Like, I got so much to do. Right. And it was amazing because it's only been a year that I was diagnosed, and I'm in complete remission. Had a bone marrow transplant, went through the chemo, the whole hair falling out, skin doing whatever it wants to do, organs shutting down. And it's only been a year, but it's been the most prolific year of my life in terms of gratitude, in terms of not taking stuff so seriously, in terms of being very glad about today being beautiful and sunny, even though it's cold, like crazy cold in March, but it's like the sun is shining and it's not snowing. So it just made me very appreciative of the entire thing. But it also, being diagnosed with cancer and walking through that, it kind of opened my eyes to the strength that I had within. Right. The strength that I had within. And then when I came through this, I was like, if I can do that, and it's so weird. Every time I get scared, I hear a voice behind me says, but you fought cancer. I was like, oh yeah, I can. It's like the strangest thing. But that's like my fallback of when I get afraid. I'm like, yeah, but you had cancer. Oh, yeah, I did have cancer. And sometimes we go through journeys and life journeys and we, overcome certain things. It may be divorce. It may be the loss of a baby, the loss of a spouse, the loss of a family member. And we think we can't survive, but you're like, I already survived. So I should be able to, I'm going to go through this like a champion. It's made me very, very humble. I consider myself humble before. Who says that they're humble?
Right.
That's a weird statement. But it makes me more empathetic. It makes me more patient with people. And it also helps me to look at people and say, you can't look at me. Like if I don't share my story, you don't really know what went on with
Absolutely
me.
not.
And just like you don't know what went on with me, I don't know what went on with this young lady on the bus. I don't know what went on with him. I don't know. So it makes me, as a person who walked through this, look at other people saying, you don't know the story. Even if they share something with you, you don't know their whole story.
Right.
So to kind of be patient with people and allow them to evolve and become on their own and at their own timing and stuff. And I'm just very grateful for this entire experience. But it also, Wendy, at the end of it, it's like, I'm not doing anything I don't want to do.
Right.
Things that I don't have pleasure. Things that I have to work real hard, like a slave. Nah, I'm not doing it. So things that bring me joy, things that bring me laughter, people that are healthy for me. So I dropped everything that was toxic to me. So I changed my diet. I changed my circle of people who were around me. If you were toxic, I was letting you go. Moisturizer, skincare, hair care. If it was toxic, I was letting it go. Wow. And so I learned to release everything that was toxic, everything that no longer served my highest good. And everybody, everything, every thought, every meditation, every prayer, if it was good for me and it was life sustaining, I embraced it wholly. And so that's where I am in my life. If you're bringing me any kind of stress, if by the time we engage, I had a headache or a backache or something, that's my body saying you are toxic to me. I got to let you go.
So that's super interesting because I met Dr. J probably before she got diagnosed. It might have been a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I came to your launch of
October.
Your event.
Exactly.
And we're talking about meeting up. And then she said, well, I got a little back pain.
Exactly.
And then boom, a few weeks later, she's just like, I've been diagnosed with cancer. So I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
right. And so I kind of was like a newer person, but I was cheering her on. So when I knew that she was going through things, I would try to send her my little Bitmojis and I'd be like, how you doing? Or how you feeling? Because studying nutrition and studying the mind, body, and the spirit as much good as you can give to somebody, then, that's what I wanted to give.
And documentaries, you sent me documentaries and courses.
Yes, because I felt like, I do my little part,
Exactly.
And so it was interesting. I have found myself in a situation recently that has become very stressful. So I'm going to tell this little story, but you as the doctor, I want for people to understand what the stress does, because we have 10 minutes. So I want us to talk about in these last 10 minutes about, from a medical perspective, what the stress does to our body and how it could hinder us. So I found myself in a situation where I was in a situation where I was stressed, right? And I just happened to mention it to Dr. J just offhand, just in a little text. And she was like, not acceptable.
Right.
And I was like, because it is stressful, but it really wasn't, it didn't really register to me. My body knew that I'm stressed out.
Right.
Now, I'm not getting that twisted because I'm very aware now. But I was just thinking like I almost had to be in that situation if I needed to be supporting these people that, I'm in this situation with. So I needed to be there. And when she said unacceptable, I was like, wow. So now I have removed myself from that situation and I have reframed the situation so that it can work for me instead of just working for that other person. And I still offer my support, but it is different. And you like shift that in me. And I was thinking, because my girlfriend, Cheryl, shout out to Cheryl. She was on the text And we both were like, yo, because if Dr. J said it and we know what you just came through, we have an idea. And you said unacceptable, even though it was what I was kind of considering something small, then I knew that I needed to shift.
Yes.
So I appreciate that, because I didn't even tell her that's what it did for me.
Good.
But let's talk about what stress does, because we talk about women's health and health in general. And, you know, we also know in this community that when you have something like that going on in your body, there's something that has happened where it's a lesson for you.
It is.
What did you shift differently? You said that you got rid of toxic people, but have you come to an even deeper understanding of how you may have attracted something like that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So what stress does, to answer that first question, stress actually releases cortisol. To keep from getting too medical,
Right.
It releases cortisol and it causes inflammation.
Yeah.
Inflammation is an open door for anything that will dis-ease our body and cause illness.
Yes.
So lupus, autoimmune disorders, rheumatoid arthritis, different forms of cancer, high blood pressure are all the underlying cause of any type of inflammation.
Yes.
And that is what stress does. Now with women, the importance of us understanding and being in tune with our body is that women, by and large, override their body signal. Our bodies signal us all the time. We may have headaches. We might have eye twitching. I used to have that a lot at work, just eyes twitching. That's not normal.
No.
Eyes twitching, headaches, stomach pains. People have migraines out the wazoo, back aches that we really can't figure out what's going on. Hip pain, knee pain, my elbow is hurting, shoulders hurting. And a lot of that is not secondary to physical activity or exercise or anything of that nature.
Right.
When you start having these weird pains out of nowhere, that's your body sign saying something is not right.
Right.
You might be in a wrong relationship. You might be in the wrong job. You might be eating the wrong things. You may be meditating on the wrong things. So whatever that is, that's up to you as an individual to get quiet. Ask yourself, ask the God in you, what is going on?
What you trying to tell me?
Then when that stuff starts coming up, don't disqualify it. That's what we do by and large. Most of the things that we need to get rid of, we're aware of it, but what happens is we have discounted it. So my encouragement for everybody out there is to not wait until cancer, lupus, whatever hits your door. Find out at the beginning, is there anything in my life that I need to release, get rid of, so that I can be my healthiest and be at ultimate wellness? That's basically what we want to do.
Right. And so that's kind of like why I created the Goddess Awakening and Healing Sanctuary, and then this offshoot of the Sanctuary as the radio show, because I was living these things. I was in situations where I was stressed out and my whole body was feeling it. And because I thought that I just needed to get this money, you know what I'm saying? I kind of stayed a little bit longer than I should have. And so once I realized that it was going to come in other ways, and once I realized that my peace was more important, and it's one of those things where I give this like a visual of, you see a little snake around your feet. And it's just circling around your feet. And then the next thing you know, that joint is in your face. Yes. It has bypassed, because you felt the ache, you felt the knee pain, you had the headache, and you ignored it. Or maybe you just took an ibuprofen, and so then you suppressed it, right? So it is something where our body is giving us a signal, and we have been taught to just let it be. Or, you know, my grandmama and them always had migraines, so now I just got migraines.
Right.
So, you know, it's just one of those things where I had to stop ignoring it, because either I will be not here for my daughter. And so once I did, then I started to attract all this other information that we got 4 minutes. I started to attract all this other information about I didn't have to be stressed out.
Right.
And that it wasn't that big a deal. And that the sun shining on my face is a beautiful thing. And it has the benefits. And I didn't have to have all these toxic people in my life and be in these toxic environments. And that I didn't have to. And then I wanted to tell everybody. Because once I took action, because you got to make some actionable steps. Once I took action and saw the change in my life and how I was feeling and the changes in my body and things, I was like, I have to tell everybody. Yes. So I went to study, integrative nutrition, integrative, holistic mind, body, spirit. I went to go study those things because I needed to be able to give it a frame, not just that I'm saying this. I wanted to, and so then I had a launch last April, and Dr. J came. It was just a soft launch with my friends, and
it was easy.
It just came, and so that's kind of like why I created it, because we want you to understand that there's way more to life than what we're seeing, this environment that we're in now. There's way more to life. We are here for pleasure. We are here to enjoy our lives. We are here to travel the world and to explore, if that's what we want to do. If you don't want to travel, you don't have to.
Right.
We are here to make the decisions on our own behalf and have agency over our own choices to do whatever it is that we want to do, but be healthy and vital and happy doing it.
Yes.
That's really the point. And so I think that if you start your babies knowing that they can do it early, if you start to let them know that there's more than this, there's more than just their block or their neighborhood, and then just their state, and then just their region, and then just the United States, and then and then in the beginning you don't even have to go, because you have the entire world in your hand. You have the internet.
Right.
You can get on YouTube and show them different places with beautiful waterfalls and greenery and places of people that look like them.
But the smell and the feel and you got to have the
start
full
somewhere.
Experience. Yeah.
Start somewhere. It's the baby steps. So starting off, once you get your money together,
right,
and you get on Hopper and start looking at flights and stuff. But before you do that, start small. And then just do the baby steps. And then the next thing you know, you will visualize it and you will be on the beach with your baby.
And can I challenge real quick? I know we have to go.
Yes.
But I don't want people to get caught up on the money, because even you setting an intention out there, what happens is it opens up a door, because my second trip, I didn't pay for anything. I just said yes. They were like, oh, we'll pay for you. And I was like, bet, I'm there.
Okay, well, that too, because I started traveling being paid to travel. Yes. I only just recently had to pay for a trip or two, because that was just how it happened. So yes, don't get caught on the money. It'll come. So Dr. J, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to see you beautiful and vibrant and healthy. And them curls are popping.
Thank you.
Because she lost her hair, but those curls are popping. I see them up close.
Thank
so Global Girls, globalwomen.org. Sign your babies up for the interview process for next year. They're already taking applications, and go to that website if you have any questions. So we will see you next time in the sanctuary. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe. Peace.